Hello, and welcome back to Gifts of Intuition. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Melissa, and I'm a licensed therapist. And on this channel, we explore mental health, healing, intuition, and the sacred wisdom of the divine feminine. If you've ever felt unseen, unheard, dismissed in your healing journey, this conversation is for you today. So welcome back. Here we go. So I want to talk today with you about the experience women often have when navigating the medical field. Oftentimes women, especially women of color, are gaslit into questioning our intuition and physical lived experience. So if you've ever walked out of a doctor's office feeling smaller than when you walked in, then quite possibly you've been gaslit into questioning your own reality. Like your pain was dismissed, your symptoms were minimized, or worse, explained as stress, hormones, or anxiety. For generations, women have been told that what they feel in their bodies is not real. And that kind of medical gaslighting doesn't just affect the body. It deeply impacts mental health, self-trust, and our connection with our feminine wisdom within. Today, we're going to be talking about why this happens, how it affects women psychologically, and how reconnecting with the divine feminine can become a part of the healing process. I want to start, before I fully dive into what I have to say about this topic, and share with you some experiences that I found online of female celebrities sharing how they were gaslit or their pain or experience was diminished in the medical profession, which for some led to years of misdiagnoses and missed solutions that could have been provided much sooner. So I'm just going to read from my notes here and share what I came across. And what I've had this topic on my list for a while, and what really kind of took it to a front of the line topic for today was I saw this post on, I don't know if it was Facebook, Instagram, I don't know, I saw it somewhere, and I read it, and I was like, you know what? Yep, time to talk about this one. So here we go. The first one is Bindi Irwin. She shared about her endometriosis journey. And she said, trying to keep my invisible illness to myself after being told by doctors it was just part of being a woman. I spent 10 years being undiagnosed. As a teenager and young woman, I felt weak and deeply insecure. I was trapped in my own body. March is Endometriosis Awareness Month. It's up to all of us to raise awareness, not just for endometriosis, but for women's health as a whole. No one deserves to suffer in silence. So again, that's the post that kind of ignited this episode today. Then I kept reading to see who else has clout and fame and money, and still they are minimized when they go to the doctor. I read about Diane Ladd. She is now passed. She passed in 2025, but her daughter, Laura Dern, shared about her mom's experience. So I wanted to share that with you today. Her mom, Diane Ladd, had a diagnosis of idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, IPF, IPF. And this is what Laura Dern had to say. She talked about how medical gaslighting delayed Diane Ladd's diagnosis and treatment. She said, "We lost time because my mother was misdiagnosed for a couple years." And she would say, "I have a feeling something is going on with my lungs." And they'd say, "Are you a smoker?" And she'd say, "No." And they'd say, "Well, it's not lung disease." Dern explained that Ladd received her IPF diagnosis after having her lungs scanned. Ladd passed away in 2025. That is, in fact, a lung disease. Halle Berry. She shared about perimenopause. She said she's publicly discussed being dismissed by medical professionals, specifically highlighting a 2024 experience where a doctor misdiagnosed her perimenopause symptoms as the worst case of herpes. This lack of knowledge caused her severe anxiety and prompted her to champion better, more informed care for women transitioning through menopause. Her doctor, she said, read more tests and was convinced that she had a sexually transmitted disease. So she confronted her partner about it, and they both got tested, and both were negative for herpes. She realized later that the pain she was experiencing was a result of vaginal dryness, a symptom of perimenopause, which is the stage when a woman's period becomes more irregular prior to menopause. Can you wrap your head around that? Being told it's herpes, which has a whole lot of stigma and potential harm to their relationship, because the accusations that could bring up, when it was just perimenopause. Infuriating. Selma Blair, multiple sclerosis. Blair recalled how at the age of 7, she lost control of her bladder, the use of her right leg and left eye. Doctors missed that this was juvenile MS. If you're a boy with symptoms, you get an MRI, she says. If you're a girl, you're called crazy. In 2018, Blair pushed for answers and was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. She says, "It took me 30 years to get an MRI." Shania Twain, Lyme disease. "My symptoms were quite scary," she says, "because before I was diagnosed, I was on stage, very dizzy. I was losing my balance. I was afraid I was going to fall off the stage. I was having these very, very, very millisecond blackouts, but regularly every minute or every 30 seconds. Initially, doctors chalked it up to vertigo and balance issues. It took 6 to 7 years for doctors to correctly diagnose Lyme disease and recognize its impact on her vocal cords." Sharon Stone has been very vocal about her experiences, both of the stroke and then a situation where she was diagnosed with fibroids. So after suffering a life-threatening stroke, which led to a 9-day brain bleed in 2001, Sharon Stone has spoken candidly about her medical struggles. Before the stroke, doctors believed that Stone was fabricating her symptoms and experiences. She says, "They missed it with the first angiogram and decided that I was faking it." Additionally, Stone was medically gaslit when trying to seek treatment for stomach pain that turned out to be uterine fibroids. In a 2022 Twitter post, Sharon Stone wrote, "Just had another misdiagnosis and incorrect procedure. This time, double epidural." She was also encouraged she encouraged other women to trust their guts and seek second opinions when their concerns aren't respected. She said, Ladies in particular, don't get blown off. Get a second opinion. It can save your life. And then the last one I have here is Venus Williams. I don't know how to pronounce this. Sorgens, SJO with those. I don't know. I should probably have studied that. I don't know how to pronounce this. SJOGREN syndrome. According to Today, a doctor explained to Williams, then 37, that her symptoms were a part of aging without mentioning that she could be experiencing fibroids. After seeking multiple opinions, Williams was finally diagnosed with fibroid disease. So she had to go and keep getting opinion after opinion. So I share all these because these are women, again, who have power and good doctors, good medical care, and they're still looked at like they're crazy and have no idea what's going on in their bodies. So, all right. So with that in mind, I want to go into everyday people like you and me. So let's name what this is: medical gaslighting. And it happens when a person's symptoms, pain, or concerns are dismissed, minimized, or misattributed by healthcare professionals. Common phrases that a doctor or medical professional might say is to a woman is, it's probably just stress. You're overreacting. It's all in your head. Maybe you're just emotional. This is normal for women. Sometimes the words are subtle. They're not so obviously misogynistic and sexist, you know. Sometimes it's the body language, you know, the rushed appointment, the lack of curiosity and questioning, the feeling that the provider has already decided your experience isn't valid. This is especially common for women experiencing chronic pain, autoimmune disorders, hormonal issues, reproductive concerns, postpartum health struggles, trauma-related somatic experiences. And historically, women, their pain has been systematically under-researched and undertreated. I wanted to caption that real quick because much of what is known in medicine and science is from research on animals and men. Very little is done actually on women. So the research isn't even there in many cases. So this is not your imagination. This is real and a very deeply gendered issue. Okay. So the mental health impact that this then has on women is where I want to really highlight for you what happens, you know, when you're spoken to in this way from doctors, nurses, whatever, who are supposed to be the ones who are all knowing and have all the answers, don't have the answers, and in fact they make you feel like you're the problem. This is what it does. Okay, so psychologically, if you are repeatedly denied, over time we begin to internalize this. We think to ourselves, maybe I'm being dramatic. Maybe I'm too sensitive. Maybe I can't trust myself. This creates a profound sense of self-doubt. And my channel is called Gifts of Intuition. And so I got stuck on that because this idea that we can't trust our own inner knowing, our own intuition, upsets me. It infuriates me. Because I think as women, we tend to be so empathetic to other people's experiences And when we try to do the same for ourselves, it gets shut down and we question that. So many women will then begin to experience heightened anxiety, obsessive health features, which I see a lot. I treat OCD and health related and other anxiety related disorders, and I do see a lot of health related concerns for women, especially, and a lot of that comes from being brushed off in the medical profession. Depression, hopelessness, trauma responses, and shame around asking for help. I mean, who wouldn't feel shame if you're made to feel stupid or dramatic every time you want to ask about a symptom or a sign that's going off in your body? Some begin to disconnect completely with their bodies altogether because there's this belief that my brain and my body are not speaking correctly to each other, so I can't trust it. And that's dangerous. That's dangerous. So because if every attempt to listen to your body is invalidated, eventually you stop listening. This is where mental health becomes wounded. The spirit becomes wounded as well. Because at the core of this is a rupture in self-trust. Because somebody with a medical profession degree is saying you can't trust yourself, so don't listen. Looking at this from the divine feminine perspective, the wound goes deeper than the individual experiences. For centuries, women have been devalued. Our wisdom has been devalued. The intuitive knowing of a woman, the cyclical nature of the body, the emotional and embodied intelligence that women carry, all of this has often been dismissed in favor of rigid systems that prioritize logic over lived experience. The divine feminine invites us back into reverence for the body and the knowing and our intuition. She asks us to listen, to trust the whisper before it becomes a scream, to honor emotion as information, to remember that intuition is not hysteria. You know, doctors don't use that phrase hysteria anymore, but they used to. We were hysterical if we were having symptoms that weren't believed. Sensitivity is not weakness. Emotion is not irrationality. The body speaks. It stores memories. It tells us what we need to know if we listen. So we need to listen. And the feminine teaches us to listen. Don't value that external opinion over your own. Your experience is valid. How you feel is valid. So how do we begin healing? You know, for some of us, this gaslighting has been going on for years. So where do we go from here? Well, healing begins with restoring trust in yourself. It doesn't start with trying to change the medical system. That is what it is. So it starts with trying to trust yourself, even when you've disconnected from that, or you feel shame about what you think is happening in your body. And what that starts to sound like is, I know what I am feeling. My symptoms matter. My intuition about my body is worthy of investigation. My pain deserves care. And I invite you not only to say these statements to yourself, but to whatever medical professional you are in front of at the time. This might also mean seeking a second opinion. Meeting with trauma-informed providers. Working with therapists who understand the emotional impact of medical invalidation. Journaling after appointments. Tracking symptoms. I often have my female members or clients who have OCD, I often have them track their cycles because it's been noted and experienced time and time again that OCD rears its ugly head at various parts of the menstrual cycle. Oftentimes it's the luteal phase. And some women are just like, I just need to start bleeding so I feel better, you know, but at least they have that knowledge that it's cyclical and this too shall pass. How I feel right now is not necessarily how I'm going to feel forever because I know where I am in my cycle and this is how I tend to feel in this part of my cycle. That's not just OCD. A lot of anxiety disorders experience that. Depression disorders feel that too. So tracking your symptoms, tracking your cycles is important. Advocating for yourself with support people. So bring someone you love and trust into your appointment with you. If you feel like you're consistently not heard, if you even want to go back to that professional, go back with somebody with you who's going to also ask questions or be just a witness. Yeah. The divine feminine reminds us, and this is my favorite part, so please remember this. The divine feminine reminds us, your voice is sacred. Your body is wise. Your lived experience is real. Again, for those in the back, your voice is sacred. Your body is wise. Your lived experience is real. So, if this is happening to you, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not crazy. You are not dramatic. You are not too much. Being dismissed can create real psychological wounds. And it's not necessary. But healing begins the moment you decide to trust yourself again. So let this be your reminder. Your body carries wisdom. Your intuition deserves a seat at the table. And your healing matters. So, if you are not being heard, if you are not being valued, if you're being dismissed, that is not your medical professional. That is perhaps someone who, through our system of managed care, especially here in the US, is probably rushed, has to get to the next person, is afraid if they give every symptom that you report attention, that they would be there all day and not be able to stay on track and follow their schedule, which are very real things. That's real pressure that is on them. But no matter how real that is for them, it doesn't make what you are experiencing less real. So you go find someone who will listen. Be heard, because you are valuable in your intuition. We know when something's not right. So listen to it. Even if you don't know what that is, you do know something's not right. So follow that. Follow the breadcrumbs. So, in a bit of a call to action, if this resonated with you, I would love to hear back from you in the comments. I would love to hear personal experiences similar to the ones I shared from the celebrity women. Again, it just baffles me that even women who have access to all the healthcare and experts and, answers that could be out there, even they get shut down and silenced. So it's even more important that you and I, who are no one famous, we fight hard. We advocate for ourselves. We make sure someone hears us. So, have you ever felt dismissed by a medical professional? If you have, how did it affect your mental health? Let's create space where women can feel seen, believed, and supported. So if this video resonated with you, or you know someone, another woman in your life who has experienced this, share this video with her. Like the video. If you liked this video and you want to hear more women's issues that I'm going to be talking about and how we take care of ourselves, subscribe, turn on that bell notification, and keep coming back. Until next time, trust your intuition and honor the wisdom within. Thank you for being here. Bye-bye.